Okay, good evening, friends, and wherever you are in the world. Good morning to Praveer, and good afternoon to my good friend Mr. Subramaniam. So, welcome to this session on Lean Six Sigma. This is organized by the CII in academic partnership with Navrachana University. My name is Dr. Neela Yagnik, and I'm here in two capacities today. One is, of course, as the provost of Navrachana University, but also as a CII Skills Development Committee member, which is the organizer of this session today. We have with us Mr. Praveer Pandya, who is speaking to us live from Connecticut in the US. And Mr. Praveer is the founder, one of the founders of GelRad USA, and also managing director of GelRad India, which is a company started by a few GE top executives. And they focus on training and consulting in the field of Lean Six Sigma as well as Agile. Praveer has several decades of experience with companies like GE, British Petroleum, Raytheon, and others. So we also have with us Mr. V. Subramaniam, who is the Director of Technology and Chief Information Officer of Otis in Europe. He is right now joining us live from Prague in the Czech Republic, and where he lives and works. So Mr. Parthesh is from the CII, representing the CII, who has also joined us today. Navrachana University is very pleased to organize such, to collaborate with such organizations like the CII, and we look forward to a mutual and a collaborative relationship as we move forward also. Thank you. Yeah, Praveer, you may please start.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and let me know when you are able to see the slides. Can you see the?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would ask you all to turn on your cameras if that is possible so that I can see your faces and your expressions. Otherwise, it feels like I'm talking to a wall. And at any time, if you feel like you have a comment to make or, there I see you, Dr. Kohli. Good to see you again. If you feel like you have a comment or question, please feel free to interrupt. The good thing about Zoom is if you press the space bar, it momentarily takes you off mute and you can ask your question or make your comment and then hit the space bar again and you go back to mute. Everything should be fine as far as the internet goes, but should I lose my connection, please stay on. Okay, sometimes, rarely it happens. I'll be quickly back. So stay on in case if we lose the connection. All right, so today, before I begin, I want to thank Dr. Yagnik and Dinesh Bhai for arranging this seminar. He gave a good introduction, so I don't need to spend much time on introducing myself. But I just want to add to that over the last 25 years, majority of my experience has been in doing what we learned at GE, making the processes and organization the best in the world. So transforming organizations, improving processes, Lean Six Sigma, that type of work is what I have been doing for more than a couple of decades now. And that's something that has become my passion. I enjoy it more and more. Sometimes on rare occasions when I'm sober, I look like this guy in the picture. I'm going to turn on my laser pointer and let me see if you can see a red dot dancing. Can you see this red dot moving in the middle?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
so I have my, or maybe I'll use a pen. All right. So as far as the agenda goes for today, what I'd like to cover, and I'm trying to be a little more ambitious here, and we might not have time to do everything, but I want to give you a very quick introduction of what Lean Six Sigma is. The purpose is not to teach you everything about Lean Six Sigma, but just give you a very brief overview, a 30,000 feet overview of what it is, some of the tools. I'm not going to teach you all the tools. You will learn them when you do yellow belt, green belt, black belt training, but just give you an idea that there are all sorts of tools being used to do Lean Six Sigma. And then in part two, I want to touch on applicability. Where exactly do people use Lean Six Sigma? What areas are good for applying Lean Six Sigma? And move into what is the role of senior management? What kind of support should senior management give in order to make the implementation successful? And then we'll talk about some of the pitfalls that can kill your program. And then I'll leave some time, hopefully, for question, answers, or discussion. What Lean Six Sigma is, right? It's recognized as the best method to improve things, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But here I want to emphasize one thing, that this is all about continuous improvement. And what is continuous improvement? Every day you have to be better than the day before. This is why, because we're competing in the global economy now. And in the global economy, our customers are constantly demanding more. They want things better, faster, cheaper. And once we shifted into internet economy, the better, faster, cheaper slogan even turned into perfect now and free. So how are you going to continuously become better and better than the day before, so that you can continue to deliver the best value to your customer? If you don't do that, the competition is already doing. So pretty soon the competition will eat your lunch and you will be driven out of business. So it is imperative to become better every day. When we were all working for GE, General Electric, our legendary CEO, Jack Welch, he used to say that there's always a better way of doing things, find it. Okay, so if you think that you're really good, there's still a better way of doing, you can still go from good to great. And the Lean Six Sigma is all about improving. Don't think of it in the narrow sense of quality method. A lot of people make that mistake. People think that, oh, we have ISO 9000 in our company. We are doing statistical quality control. So do we really need to do Lean Six Sigma? And it just bothers me, because Lean Six Sigma view, it has to be much, much, much broader than just narrow view of quality control. So as we said, it's widely recognized as the most effective method to improve business, improve everything. And how you improve things? It's by solving problems. And there are problems to be solved every day. So this methodology combines the speed of what we call lean, and we'll separately look at what lean is and what Six Sigma is in a minute. Speed of lean, and then Six Sigma focuses more on data, rigorous data analysis. The combination of that two gives us a fantastic methodology that allows you to improve every day. And the results are you get customers delighted to have you deliver services to and products to them. You reduce defects, your costs come down, and you eliminate waste and variation from your processes. That makes everything go faster. You achieve speed and eliminate delays, and you build more capacity to do more and more things, which is what triggers growth for your company. And again, to quote our CEO, Jack Welch, he said that when GE did Lean Six Sigma, he said, this is the most important initiative GE has ever undertaken in its history. And Motorola used to do it. Nobody cared. As soon as GE did it, everybody wanted to copy. So the way GE did it seemed to be a really popular way of doing it. And emphasizing on this need to continuously improve. People often say, we don't have problems. Okay, we're great. When I visit lots of factories in India, one thing that sticks in my mind, very common to hear that, we're the best in the world. We're the best in the world. If you're really, really the best in the world today, it's not going to be true tomorrow. Even if you are really best in the world, tomorrow your competition may sideline you. So you have to look at where are the problems or where are the needs for improvement. And it's like an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is visible. You see some quality defects. You see having to service the warranty and take the rejections back, or things go to scrap, and you say, oh, this is all waste. We lost money. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Typically, there are so many problems below the surface of the water that's really what creates a hidden factory. I asked the factory owners, how many factories do you have? And they generally say, I have only one factory, but in reality, they have two. The other one, they don't see it, and that doesn't produce anything. And the studies have shown that typically 20 to 40% of your sales revenues are lost because of the problems that you don't see. And if you don't see problems, you cannot fix them. The Six Sigma is all about how do we uncover. Lean focuses a lot on visualization. How do we uncover things that we cannot see? How can we uncover problems? If you uncover problems, then you recognize what you have to fix, and only then you can go and fix problems and make things better. Okay. Let me briefly touch on the history of Lean Six Sigma. This is not something that's very new. More than a century ago, right? We had Eli Whitney and Henry Ford thinking about, how do we do assembly line production? How do we use interchangeable part? How do we use specialized workforce that only do specific things, and then products move on? The best use of workforce, right? Henry Ford had pretty good ideas about how to improve production lines and make it cost effective. And so those ideas started, and then Japanese said, well, in the United States, the car manufacturers like General Motors and Ford, they really have the best ideas of efficient manufacturing. So from Toyota Motor Company, they sent a couple of guys, Kiichiro Toyoda and Taiichi Ono. The two of them came to visit Detroit. Let's go to GM and Ford and learn everything about manufacturing automobiles from them. And so this Toyota production system, and this is the logo, Toyota Motor logo that it had at that time. We looked it up. Today, there's the new logo that you see here. But in those days, in the 50s, they came over, and the interesting thing is, Toyota production system didn't take all its learnings from Ford and General Motors, the auto manufacturers. They went to visit, there's a grocery chain called Piggly Wiggly. And the kind of things that they saw, how they manage inventory, how they move products from the backroom storage to the front aisles where the customers can pick them, and how they manage the entire process. The kind of things that they saw there, those are the ideas that they stole, came back to Japan, and created what is widely known as the Toyota production system, the parent of lean philosophy. So the interesting thing to note here is that lean, although people say lean manufacturing, its roots are not in manufacturing, but Piggly Wiggly, a service organization. So all the concepts that are applied in lean manufacturing, they're equally applicable in the service industry. So if you are a bank, or if you are an airline, or if you're providing service and not have any plant that manufactures anything, don't shy away from the idea of Lean Six Sigma. Its roots are actually in a service industry. So then Toyota production system started in the middle of last century. And Edward Deming was a big quality guru, and he came up with this plan, do, check, and act. So for many decades, there was a lot of planning and doing and checking and acting that was happening, until there was a time when people said, oh, there's something called total quality management. You hear this in India a lot, zero defect. We have zero defect, zero defect. So that's a good thing, but those ideas are kind of old. I mean, it's just almost half a century old, and much has evolved beyond that. So zero defect is not the end goal. You have to think beyond zero defect. What happened after that? So GE came out with this thing called Workout. And Workout, when I joined GE in early 90s, Workout was a big initiative. And it didn't mean this, go to the gym and work out and break out your sweat and build up your muscle. What it meant was, there's always unnecessary wasteful work in everything that you do. Take that work out. Identify what work is of no value to the customer and take it out of the process. And that way you're becoming more and more lean and valuable to the customer. Lean came out from a similar thinking that take waste out. And we'll look at that in a little bit more detail later on. Around the same time, Motorola started Six Sigma. As I said before, people were not interested in how Motorola did it. But a little bit later, GE added define the D to the Motorola methodology of measure, analyze, improve, control, and then implemented the Mike methodology of Six Sigma all over the company. And Jack Welch announced that by the turn of the century, GE shall become a Six Sigma company. As soon as that happened, the Wall Street analysis said, oh, the stock price will double because of that. And everybody caught on, and Six Sigma came up. And then they combined the ideas of Toyota manufacturing, Toyota production system, and lean with it. And now we look at Lean Six Sigma as a joint combined method. We don't talk about Six Sigma and Lean separately anymore. Okay, so, but briefly, I want to talk about Six Sigma and Lean separately, and then we'll always look at Lean Six Sigma as a one methodology. So what is Six Sigma? Six Sigma is a systematic and disciplined approach to see where you have variation in your process. If you have variation, chances of making mistakes are high. Predictability is low, and customers don't like it. So Six Sigma focuses on statistically, and it is a metric. Sigma value, 1 sigma or 2 sigma or 3 sigma. What sigma value do you have? That's a number. And it gives you an idea of variation. This is the best way to explain it. Let me give you my story. At one point, I used to work for British Petroleum in Alaska, and I used to go hiking in the mountains a lot. And people said there are wild bears, grizzly bears, and it's never safe to go alone. And you must carry a gun. So I'd never used the gun. So I went and bought a gun. And along with that, there was a promotion going on that you can get one free lesson at the shooting gallery. So I took my colleague, Scott Dawson, 2 of us went, and that free lesson that I got, we got some instruction and we shot. So what happened was that the picture that you see here on the left, this is how I ended up shooting. Okay, you can see that my shots were all over the target. But on an average, if you take average of all my shots, somebody tell me if you're still able to hear me. I haven't lost you, have I?
Very
okay,
clear.
Great. If you take an average of all my shots, I'm right on the bullseye. And then Scott Dawson shot like this. All his shots are very tightly close together, but he's off target. He's nowhere near the target, even on average. His average is somewhere here. So I was really happy that my shooting is better than Scott's shooting. When the instructor came, he said, you know what? This is easy to fix. If I have to improve Scott's shooting, he is already a good shooter. All I have to do is take a screwdriver, turn the vertical calibration screw on the gun a quarter turn, and he'll be down here. And then do the same thing with horizontal calibration, and he'll come right in the center. But he does not need to take any more lessons. His shots are tightly together. This is precision. Precision is all your performances are so close together every time. It's like if you are a company that's manufacturing, say, pipe, every single time the pipe diameter is 1.00000 or very, very close to that. That's precision. Or if you're an airline, your flight from Vadodara to Mumbai, every single time the 8 o'clock flight leaves at 8 o'clock, or maybe 1 minute after 8 or 1 minute before 8, but it's precisely together, right? That's precision. Precision is good because it gives you predictability of your result. I am here all over. It doesn't matter that on average I'm on target. I'm accurate because of that. My average is on target, but I am not precision. So precision is always better than accurate. And then, of course, then you have something that's neither precise nor accurate. And then the final thing that you see here, this is what one should be shooting for, right? Accurate and precise. So when you look at this kind of thinking applied to Six Sigma, in Six Sigma, you collect a lot of data, and people like to plot what's called the bell-shaped curve or histogram. And that gives you an idea of variation. How is my process varying, right? In each case of shooting, you can see whether the process is varying a lot, or as you see in the first case, the broader the histogram curve, more is the variation. The variation here is low, but the mean is off the target, right? And so ultimate goal is you have such performance that your variation is very narrow and your mean is on target. Variation in statistics is measured by standard deviation, and how far off the expected value or target value you are in your performance is measured by mean. Mean and standard deviations are two very valuable terms that we use. If you hate statistics, don't worry about it. We're not going to take you through all that. But the point that I want to make is that when you look at the mean and standard deviation, or how my process varies and how far off I am to the expectation, it's what we call voice of the process. Your process tells you that I vary a lot. I'm way off the target. That's the voice of the process. And then you collect voice of the customer, where the customer tells you, this is the target I want you to hit. Okay. My flight must leave at 8 o'clock. 8 is the target. And then there is lower specification limit and upper specification limit. These are tolerances. So I will tolerate 10 minutes early or 10 minutes late. But if you are more than 10 minutes late, I'm never going to fly your airline again, right? So this is the voice of the customer. When you overlay voice of the customer with the voice of the process, that's when you see anything that goes beyond the limits are my defect. Customer is not going to accept this. So here you see that the idea of customer satisfaction is mathematically integrated into it. Lots of people have big talk. Oh, we have satisfies customer. Customer comes first. We listen to the customers, blah, blah, blah. But here you can actually measure that. Customer satisfaction is a metric, and it's mathematically integrated into the concept of Six Sigma. This is what we love about Six Sigma. Think of the word variation, get variation out, and customers will be happy. Or the Japanese call it Mura. Okay, they had 3 terms: Mura, Muri, and so that's for variation and waste, and Muda. Muda was a third term. Get rid of those 3 things. Here, Six Sigma focuses on variation and get it out of your process. If you like Sherlock Holmes, the detective, he once said to his best friend, Dr. Watson, the temptation to form premature theories upon insufficient data, that is what kills our profession. Okay. And in Six Sigma, that's so true, that if you don't have sufficient data, if you haven't analyzed the data, if you haven't gathered facts to see what's really going on, but you jump to conclusion and form premature theories, then everything that you do is going to be wrong, and you will never successfully improve problems. All right. So that was Six Sigma. Lean is a slightly different thinking, where you say, in a systematic, disciplined way, we want to maximize value by minimizing waste. In your process, if you can understand what is value for my customer and what is not value, anything that's of no value to your customer, you're still doing it, get rid of it because it's waste. Then what is left in your process is only value. So the central philosophy in Lean is get rid of waste and maximize value. Six Sigma focused on variation and reducing defects. Lean focuses on waste and maximizing value and speed. Everything becomes faster when you do that. And it has 5 principles that are at the core of the philosophy. The first thing is understand what is value for the customer from the eyes of the customer. You don't decide yourself what you call value. You talk to the customer and say, everything that I do, what value are you getting? Oftentimes what happens is people are busy doing things. If you go to your factory, you will never see people sitting around playing cards or just sleeping. Everybody is busy, okay? But the thing is, everybody is busy doing something that's probably of no value to the customer. If you learn the Lean Six Sigma methodology, Lean especially, and then go and evaluate your process, I promise you that you will most likely find out that 80 to 90% of what people are doing has no value to the customer. But you keep on doing because you think this is the way things are always done. 80 to 90%, believe it or not, okay? time and again, for decades, people have been applying this, and they get surprised. In the beginning, when we say, map your process and tell me how much non-value added work are you doing, people generally say, hey, most of everything that we do, we need to do it. It's necessary. Maybe 5 to 10% I might have waste. When we take them through the lean analysis, it becomes an eye opener. They find out it's exactly the opposite. I thought 5 to 10% is waste. Now 5 to 10% is all we do that's valuable to the customer. So the first principle is determine value. And then value flows through a stream. Just like from the root of the river, it flows all the way down the mountain and into the ocean. You have to identify that stream. How does the value flow? So if you're a factory, you go to your yard and all the stock material, the raw material gets dumped in there, right? The trucks come in, they dump the raw material. Then you take the plates and then you put the plate on a bending machine and you roll the plates, and somebody then goes to a welding station, somebody welds the joints, and then somebody puts it in a machine, and it's fine machining. So you just track that, you follow that material. Or if it's a service industry, there's a lot of paperwork going on, follow the information. And you see what is the path that it takes to go from unfinished product or service to the final result that gets delivered, and map that stream. This is called value stream mapping. So we identify value, find the stream, and then in the value stream, you make sure that there is a good flow of value. It doesn't stagnate anywhere. If you build a road from between Ahmedabad and Vadodara, there's this fantastic highway that they have built, right? Traffic flows so well. You never like it when there is a bottleneck, right? As soon as you get to that toll booth, what happens? Traffic just stops. So eliminate the toll booths, right? Make the traffic flow. People hate it when you get stuck in traffic jam. So think about that traffic. On the road or that value stream, value should continuously flow like you would like your car to continue to flow on the road. And once you make the value flow through your stream, then create some kind of pool. There's a word called Kanban, visual signals. There are all kinds of lean techniques that people use to create pool. And if you create pool, then the value flows faster and faster. Once you created that flow, make the flow faster and faster. It's always easy to make things faster when you pull. Pushing is not a good thing. Typically, companies push product through the line. Products or services, you have the factory or office setup, and you push it through the line. And when you're finished, you look for customers and you try to sell it to somebody. Oh, I've got a car to sell. Please buy, please buy. But if you have a pool where when the customer says, can you provide this? That's when you think of those fast food guys, right? When they make dosa, the customer says one dosa, and without breaking sweat, they instantly are able to make dosa and serve it right there. So if your production line or your service line is so good that only when you get the pull from the customer, you create value and can do it very quickly, then it's a perfect way to do things fast. And then finally, this fifth principle is once you get that right, involve everybody. Everybody's engagement is necessary, and make it go faster and faster and faster. Improve every day. There was this a researcher at MIT. Now he has gone over to Google and he's helping them develop the self-driven driverless car. He's a brilliant guy. He's the one who then went to Toyota productions to see how Toyota does the Toyota production system. And he said, I'll learn from the Japanese. So he went over to Japan and he observed that, when they were doing things, they took less of everything. They needed to do the same amount of work, to create the same amount of value for the customer. They use less people, less investment, less material, less inventory, less supplies, less time. Everything was less. So let's just call it lean. Okay, when everything is less, let's call it lean. And this is how the term lean came. Lean means doing the same amount of work with everything less. Lean does not mean that you are being mean and you're going to lay off people and you're going to get rid of workforce and you're trying. This is what a lot of companies impulsively do when they have to cut costs. A lot of people are sent home and you reduce the payroll. That's not what lean is. Lean is about taking out only the waste out of the process. Any questions so far on what lean and Six Sigma are? So we combine them. When you try to solve a problem, there is nothing that really is exclusively waste or exclusively variation. And then there's a third philosophy in Six Sigma called design for Six Sigma, that is to remove complexity. So there are three evils really. Waste, variation, and complexity are three evils. You don't want them in your organization or process. Lean focuses on waste. Six Sigma DMAIC methodology focuses on variation, and design for Six Sigma takes complexity out. We won't talk about DFSS today. Waste and variation, in reality, whenever you're trying to improve something, you will find out that you have a combination of both. And this is why, although we just looked at Lean and Six Sigma separately, from now onwards, we will not talk about Lean and Six Sigma separately. It's a combined philosophy. And it's about the mindset. It's the thinking that you create. Okay, I keep saying it's a philosophy. It's not a framework. It's not a set of tools. People make this mistake a lot. I want to learn Lean Six Sigma tools. Fine, you're going to learn tools. You need tools, but it's not about the tools. You can have all the tools in your toolbox, but that doesn't guarantee that you are a good carpenter. Right? You have to think like a carpenter. So Lean Six Sigma is the way you think, the way you approach things. And this is why when you do Lean Six Sigma and roll it out throughout your company or throughout your organization, then everybody thinks in a certain way. Everybody thinks about getting rid of waste and getting rid of variation, and improving speed, improving cost, improving everything continuously. And when everyone thinks like that, it builds a corporate culture. So this is, if you're going to do Lean Six Sigma, think about building a certain corporate culture or certain work culture, common behaviors. And it gets into DNA. A lot of people tell me that, oh, you work for GE, that means Lean Six Sigma is in your DNA. When it gets into your company's DNA, that's when you get the best benefit out of doing something like that. Okay. So here's the methodology. You heard the term DMAIC a couple of times. DMAIC stands for 5 stages that we take you through when you practice Lean Six Sigma. And they have to be in this particular order. First, define the problem, really understand what problem you're trying to solve, and scope out the problem and establish a team. So definition of the problem is extremely important. If you miss this step, everything else is going to go wrong. And this is probably why Motorola's MAIC methodology didn't become popular, because the first important step was not added until GE did this. And then once you have defined what problem you're solving and what exactly is the problem, then you get into measure stage, where you gather some facts and data and understand the reality and see what is the baseline. How good or bad are we today? If you don't understand the baseline, you cannot go where you want to go. I mean, if you're driving from Delhi to Mumbai, you set your GPS system, it needs to know where are you starting from. I'm starting from Chandni Chowk in Delhi. Then you have to type that the current state in there, and then I'm going to Flora Fountain in Mumbai. You have to enter the destination. Then the roadmap can be established. So establishing where we are today is very important. Measure some data and establish the baseline. And then once you have that data and facts, you can do graphical analysis, you can do statistical analysis, you can use certain simple tools like 5 whys and fishbone diagram, things like that, to find out what the root causes are. Root causes are very important because that is where the problem is coming from. That's the source of the problem. If you eliminate the source of the problem, then the problem will go away once and for all. If you don't find the root cause and if you only attack the symptoms, problem will keep coming back. Okay? You have a headache. What do? You take a Tylenol, right? Or in India, you call it paracetamol. You take a headache medicine. After 4 hours, the problem comes back because the root cause is not what paracetamol addresses. You have to find out why I'm getting the headache. Okay? And then you have the root causes. Now that you know what is ultimately causing the problem, what is the real culprit for the problem or undesirable situation, you can then brainstorm on solutions to address those root cause and eliminate the root cause. People do these 4 stages sometimes: define, measure, analyze, improve, and they're very happy. We solve the problem. People often miss the final stage of control. And if you don't do the control, if you don't put certain mechanisms in place so that the solution is sustainable, pretty soon everything will go back the way it is. Okay, so the final stage is equally important. After you have solved the problem, you have to do certain things to make sure that the sustainability is there. And I want to quickly take you through each one of the 5 stages. Define. Here, the question you are asking really is, what is the problem that we are trying to solve? And the reason why I said this is the all important first step is, if you don't believe me, listen to the genius. Okay, he said, if I had only 1 hour to save the entire world, I'd spend 55 minutes defining the problem and only 5 minutes solving it. This is how important it is to define the problem. I was once working for a company in Amsterdam. They were a flour mill. And by flour, I don't mean the tulips and the roses. I mean that the flour that you use to make chapati, right? The flour mill, their problem was that the cost overruns were heavy, and they were trying to renegotiate prices with the supplier. So when I arrived in Amsterdam, they said, work with our procurement team. So I was the consultant to their chief procurement officer. And they said, help us renegotiate the contracts with the grain suppliers. Grains are very expensive and they're killing our profits. So I spent one entire week doing their spend analysis, understanding their spend patterns, their demand plan. I looked at the contract with their key grain suppliers. I studied the market, what's going on in the market, who are the suppliers. And you know what, I couldn't come up with anything at all. I felt miserable by Friday that they have no leverage. The total supply of grains in the world was such shortage that demand was much higher, and the grain suppliers could dictate their terms. So there was no way to come up with negotiation strategies. So I was frustrated, and that weekend I said, let me go spend the weekend in London. So in London, I ended up in a cocktail party where I met somebody who was a very interesting person. When I said, this is what I do, she wanted to know what was the name of the company. And as soon as I told her, she said, you know, we own that company. And it turns out that she was a senior partner in a private equity firm. And she says, well, my private equity firm has heavy investment in this company. We took over. And what are you doing for them? So when I explained, I'm trying to develop negotiation strategies for grain suppliers. That's the problem I'm trying to solve. She said, oh, no, you got it all wrong. Who gave you that problem? The real problem is that our growth targets are at risk. We are at a risk of missing our growth target. And we have told the company, the CEO of that flour mill knows damn well that they have to improve that. And they are trying to cut costs. They have a narrow mind of cost cutting. See, cost cutting thinking is very dangerous. They were trying to say, procurement, squeeze the suppliers, lay off people, get rid of people, cut the cost. And she said, no, think of growth. And then it occurred to me, redefining the problem is important. Also, it helped that it was a cocktail party and I had a few scotch drinks already in me. So I had this thought that what if we forget about renegotiating grain prices and we simply buy one of the grain suppliers? You are a private equity firm. You buy companies, go buy a grain supplier. And that's exactly what they did. Okay, so they were never able to save money on buying grain, but the extra money that they had to pay to the grain supplier went into their own pocket, the pocket of the parent company, because they owned that too. So if you see the problem wrong, if you have a wrong definition of the problem, you can be completely off track. It was by sheer coincidence that I ran into the senior partner who told me the correct problem statement is entirely different from what you're doing. So making sure that you have defined the problem and you are working on the correct problem is very important. That's why the first step that we do here is select the right problem and define the problem. And there are a whole bunch of tools that you see here that we use. I'll show you those in the next slide. And once you have defined the problem, you establish the scope. If you don't scope it out properly, the chances are that you will end up boiling the ocean and you'll never get done. Understand the customer needs. It's very important to engage stakeholders so that you get agreement and people accept your solutions. And then finally, some regular project management things. If you do Lean Six Sigma and do execution of projects, people automatically learn sound project management methodology. You don't need to send people for PMP certification. This comes naturally with it. There was another quality guru called Joseph Juran. He said that all improvement happens project by project and in no other way. Okay, so if you're doing things like a continuous improvement, Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma, you do that by executing project. At the end of the project, you have the improved result. You have the problem solution implemented. So when you run that project as the project leader, as the green belt or black belt going through the Lean Six Sigma philosophy, you close projects, you deliver results, and you learn good project management philosophy. Methodology. So this is how the defined stage works. And if you cannot read what this is, they're just icons. Don't worry about that. When you do yellow belt, green belt, black belt training, you will learn these kind of tools to select a specific problem. You do should metrics. What is happening that should not happen? What's not happening that should happen? You learn how to write a proper problem statement, how to develop a project charter, and then SIPOC, scoping, voice of the customer. There are some tools that you use to clarify scope and understand the customer needs. And then there are some stakeholder engagement tools that are very necessary to make sure that people accept. And then you go into measure stage. And measure is about what is the current state. And do you know who this guy is? I like to quote famous people like Einstein. You know who this guy is? Does anybody know him? He is every tailor in India. Okay, they all know that measure twice and cut once. Okay? This is something that all tailors in India know, but most people in corporations don't know. They don't measure where they need to. They start executing. They start working on the work piece or the service information. And then they go wrong and they realize that, well, we didn't measure things properly. Okay? And then you have created enormous waste. So in measure stage, measurement is very, very important. And the steps that you go through are, first you understand the current process by collecting some data, some facts. Okay? And there are some tools here that you use for things like that. And then once you have collected data, and you have some process maps, things like that, you can establish the baseline and you keep your customers engaged as before. And the tools that you use for that are process mapping. So very, very powerful tools. And there are many different ways of mapping the process. So we teach different process mapping tools like swim lane diagram or SIPOC diagram or spaghetti process mapping or value stream mapping. And then data collection has to happen through certain good planning, data collection plan. And then there are statistical tools like histogram. Statisticians love histogram a lot, bell-shaped curve that gives you an idea of how our process is working today. Vilfredo Pareto, an Italian economist, came up with the 2080 rule. Pareto chart is a very powerful tool to see what's going on. And then when you do things like that, a few quick wins or low-hanging fruit, as they say, becomes apparent. So what do you do? How do you identify some quick wins and then keep your customers engaged, your stakeholders engaged? So these are some of the tools. It feels like a tool blast. My goal is not to teach you tools. That's the yellow belt, black belt, green belt course. But I'm going to give you some overview that there are a variety of tools available. And these are not the only tools. These are just a few selected ones. There are tons of tools that people use in define, measure, analyze state. So once you have defined and measured, you go into analysis where you are saying, where is the problem coming from? What's the source of the problem? And the reason why it's important is, here's another famous person, the South African bishop, right, Desmond Tutu. He said that instead of just pulling people out of the river, we need to go upstream and find out why they're falling into the river in the first place. If that's the root cause, there's something that is causing people to fall into the river upstream. And if we don't find that out downstream, we'll just keep on working on pulling people out, and that'll never end. This is why it's very important to go upstream, go at the root of the whole damn thing, and find out what is causing the problem. Very, very important. And so to identify root causes here, first step, we identify root causes. And then we can do graphical analysis, statistical analysis, process analysis, to look at what is really going on and where could be the culprits driving the undesirable effect in the process. And once you know that, you will find out there are lots and lots of culprits. Then you can validate them and prioritize them. That you have a prioritized set of root causes. And the tools that we use for that is, I mentioned cause and effect diagram. I call it fishbone diagram. I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat fish. I hate the term fishbone, but it's called fishbone because it looks like a fish that has been eaten away on your plate. In lean, you understand value and waste. You ask questions like 5 whys. It's like a child saying, why? If you have ever had the experience of having a 3-year-old, 5-year-old kid, or you have nieces and nephews that age, why? That irritates us, but it becomes a very powerful tool in Lean Six Sigma to determine to drill down all the way to the root causes. So there are a whole bunch of tools that you use in Analyze. Once you do Analyze, you can move to improve stage, because now you know what is really causing the problem. So we say, now knowing the root causes, how do we eliminate them? How do we solve this problem? Okay. And I'll again go back to a quote by a famous person. And I'm using Einstein twice because he's my favorite guy. But at least I use the different pictures. So you got to give me credit for that. When you think of solution, he said that you cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created the problems in the first place. And this is something that happens very, very commonly in corporations. People try to solve problems, but their thinking is not broadened. I frequently end up giving advice to folks in India that if you are a good factory or good service organization, and if you see an opportunity to export to in the global economy, or if your exports are primarily to Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and Myanmar and Vietnam, you want to export to the Western economy, to European nations and United States, your thinking has to shift. And if you try to do it with the Indian thinking, you are going to go in circles. So this is why it is very important for Indian companies to engage advisors who have outside the India box thinking. Because if you continue to think the same way, that's how you got into the mess, or that's how you are not able to export to the Western economy. And if you keep on thinking that way, it will only exacerbate the problem. So that's why it's very important to think outside the box. And in Lean Six Sigma improve stage, you go through this exercise of brainstorming, thinking outside the box. And we have tools that we teach you to enhance creativity. And then once you have brainstormed a few solutions, you can evaluate which one is the best one, or which few solutions are giving you the best bang for your buck. And then you can pilot them in a small scale, test them out, and before you broaden the scope of the whole implementation. And once you have implemented it, you can validate the improvements. You can show that, hey, we really got rid of the problem. Improvement has occurred. We have a new and improved stage, and you keep the stakeholders engaged throughout the process. For that, we use some tools. Many of you may have already gone through brainstorming, but there are some do's and don'ts of brainstorming. And if you know this, if you learn this tool properly, then your brainstorming sessions produce the best value. There are some creativity enhancers that are very helpful. And if you learn some creativity enhancers, then it really becomes fun. When I facilitate the brainstorming sessions and we use some of these creativity enhancers, they become games, and people really get excited, energized, because it's a fun thing. And then affinity diagram, multi-voting, filtering matrix. These are some various tools that we use to say, of all the possible solutions, which ones should we try the first? Which ones will be easy to do, and will give us a better results. And then once you have determined what improves the process, you can go down here and say, we mapped the process earlier, and that was the way process was. Now I can give you a new and improved process, the 2B process. The words used often are as is process, current process is as is, and now I have an improved process that is 2B process. But at this stage, you would be able to establish a 2B process map to tell everybody, this is a solution we are implementing. And once you have improved, as I said before, the final stage of getting through control is extremely, extremely important. Otherwise, things will go back the way they were. How do we ensure that things stay fixed, the solution is sustained? And my customary quote here from a famous person. Do you know who Mario Andretti is? Has anybody heard of Mario Andretti? Don't let me be the only one talking. Jump in anytime. If you don't know who he is, I'm already giving you. Yes. Nishant, you said something, or Nagesh was saying something.
No. We have not. I have not heard about.
Oh, okay. I'm giving you a massive hint in the slide itself. He's one of the most famous race car driver. Okay, Formula One racing. He won lots and lots of races. He's retired now, but he's the Sachin Tendulkar of race car driving. And the quote that I really like is he said, if everything seems under control, you're just not going fast enough. A race car driver, he's thinking of going fast, right? At first instant, you would say, well, your quote is actually contradictory to what you're trying to teach here. You're saying that go faster, things cannot be under control, right? You're trying to make, you are preaching control, and he's saying, no, if things are under control, you're not going fast enough, so you need to do better. But the point that I want to make here is that get things under control first. But when you have everything under control, you recognize, hey, you know what? We can even go faster. So only after you have gone through all 5 stages, define, measure, analyze, improve, and finish the control stage, then you say, you know, our new solution, our new improved organization, improved process, improved systems, they are now perfectly under control. And what that means is now it has given us the ability to go even faster. And the faster you go, the more you earn, the more growth happens, the more profitability comes, the more customers you have, the more market you will penetrate. It's in today's global economy, everything is about being fast. In internet economy, if you are slow, somebody else will get the product out there. So I have a very good friend who lives not far from where I am. He once described that he had this great idea of how people can take their own videos and photographs and put it on internet in one site and share with the whole world. And he was not fast enough to develop. And YouTube did exactly the same thing. How broad is YouTube now? Can you imagine? Because they were fast, right? So you need to be fast, and you can go faster only when you are successful in bringing everything under control. So in order to establish control, we take you through this 5 steps or 4 steps. First, you want to demonstrate that the pilot or the solution that you implemented, it really produced the value you are hoping for. You measure the results, show before and after picture. Okay, things look bad before, look how things look after our solution. And SPC really is a small part of the whole Lean Six Sigma philosophy that fits in here. Okay? Don't let people say we do SPC, so we don't need Lean Six Sigma. That SPC is just one subset, small subset of the whole philosophy. SPC and things like this ISO, these are merely frameworks. Frameworks are like bodies. Bodies get old. Philosophy is like your atma. The soul never dies. So you demonstrate that we really improved, and then you establish some control mechanisms. You have to have some mechanism to make sure that you are effectively monitoring everything that's going on, and you have a response plan. That if something sounds out of whack, that immediately you have certain pre-planned responses to make sure that things come back in whack. Okay, I don't know what whack means. So how do we bring things in whack if they're out of whack? I don't know, but control plans are extremely effective to bring things back under control. And then very important to act on lessons learned. Many times companies go through the process of solving problems, but they don't inform everybody else. They don't share the lessons learned. So after a while, if somebody else has a similar problem, they go through the whole exercise all over again because you have not broadcasted your problems, the lessons learned. And extremely important to celebrate the success and reward people. Okay, I always say my three friends, Jack, Jim, and who is the third one? Jose, right? Jack, Jim Bim, and Jack Daniels, and who was the third guy? The three of them have to come together for true celebrations. If you do not celebrate, if you do not reward people for delivering great results, people will get exhausted, and then cycle will not continue. You will do it. You'll be once and done. Okay, you do it once, and then people would say, well, what's the point of doing this? We got nothing out of it. So companies, people who think of cost saving, they're the ultimate losers. You need to, if a team did a project and they saved you 10 lakh rupees, then give them 1 lakh bonus. Okay, just immediately give them a bonus, share 10% of the gains with them, because you're still pocketing 9 lakh rupees of benefit that they got you. If a team solves a bigger project, if it's a black belt team and they solve 10 crore problem, I'm not suggesting that you hand out 10 crore in bonuses, but yeah, why not give out big bonuses? So that way people get energized and people get engaged, and more people would say, I too want to get those awards and rewards and bonuses and promotions and raises, right? So this step people miss because management doesn't want to spend money, but don't be stingy here. So that takes us, and there are some of the tools here that we use. So that finishes part one. Okay, I want to shift into part 2 and 3 quickly. I'll pause for a minute. Does anybody have any comment or a question on what we covered so far in for the Lean Six Sigma methodology? Am I going too fast?
Dr. Pandya, Kartesh here. I had a query. Now, when you see the CEOs in Western countries, Europe, all these places, 80% of the time they spend is management and innovation.
Yes.
And 20% is on compliance. Where in India, 80% of the time of a CEO goes in the compliance. Where these people are so much occupied, how do you tell them that how much lean is important to you?
Yes, yes. That's an excellent segue into the next part, where I want to cover which areas are suitable for using Lean Six Sigma. And to your point, how do you communicate with the management that you have a role to play? If we are going to be successful, not just in implementation of Lean Six Sigma, but practically at everything, as a senior leader, what is your role in all this in successful? I want to get to that in part 2, if you can just hold that thought. But I'm glad, I thank you for bringing that up. That's our next section. Anyone else? Okay, so let's move into this part 2. Where do you use Lean Six Sigma in your company, in your organization? Is it something that's for manufacturing? So where is the applicability? And what is the role of senior management in what way do they have to provide support so that the people who are practicing Lean Six Sigma and actually doing things with it, executing the projects, they have the best chance of succeeding with it? Okay, so as far as the applicability goes, I keep hearing that this is for production, right? This is for manufacturing. The thing is, it has been applied everywhere, because all over your company, it doesn't matter what function, what organization, what area, what business unit, everywhere there are people are working. If people are doing something? If people are doing something, then there is a process. Okay. If you cannot describe what you are doing in form of a process, then you simply don't know what you're doing. So if people are doing something, then there's a process. If there is a process, it can be improved. Okay, and the best way to improve processes is Lean Six Sigma. So because people are doing work everywhere, in production area, in design and engineering, in supply chain management, in sales and marketing, HRD people, IT people, finance people, accounting people, legal services, logistics services. A company has all kinds of areas, and I'd say everywhere it is applied. Okay, not just in manufacturing or production. Back offices, okay, IT, HR development, supply chain management, these are and finance and accounting, they're often called back office operations. And they're the ones who are providing service to the main functions of product design and manufacturing. So back offices have equal applicability. We frequently have customers who first start implementation of Lean Six Sigma in finance or supply chain or HR or IT. That's where they begin. And then slowly it gets into production. So what you notice is there are problems everywhere. Okay? When people say we don't have any problems, no, everybody has problems, and every day there are problems to solve. Every day there's something that needs to be improved. And so only if you say, think of that iceberg, tip of the iceberg, what's below we don't see. If you go and observe, in Japanese language, they have a term called gemba. Gemba is the place where everything is happening. Go to the gemba is a term often used. Go and see. Don't sit in your office. Don't work for, it's a nice air conditioning office. Right now, I know that temperatures are great in India, but come April, May, June, it's going to be hot, and people just say, I'm sitting in my air conditioning office. No, go to the shop floor, go to other people's offices, take a walk, okay, and talk to people, see how things are happening. Observe that value stream. Remember the 5 principles of Lean that we talked about, and it's a value and value stream. Find out that value stream, and then you'll find out that there are defects happening everywhere. Okay, we have customers' complaint coming. Go talk to the customer service organization. Tell them, show me your log. Okay, let me look at your log, and oh my God, we got 50 complaints in just the first hour of the day. Monday morning by 9 o'clock, we have 50 customer complaints. I thought I worked for a great company. So go see these things. You're not aware of this thing, right? There are mistakes happening all the time. The work culture is undesirable very often. The CEOs and managing directors of companies in India, they frequently tell me that, can you help us bring your American style work culture? And I ask them, what do you mean? And they all tell me the same thing, that I want my people to hold themselves accountable for the outcome. I want my people to be responsible for the result. Accountability, responsibility, punctuality, not having too many absent days. These are the kind of things that are very commonly seen. When HR people apply Lean Six Sigma, they're trying to solve problems like this. My workforce is not sufficiently trained. My senior management lacks leadership qualities. The organizational structure is outdated. Or when we do it in IT, they say we don't have enough automation, or we have automation, but our systems are outdated, or we have a modern systems, but they don't talk to each other. Then in other areas, they have processes where they say, well, we have very old processes, or processes are not good, or we have good processes, but nobody bothers to follow them. There's no compliance to processes. So that things like this all the time that create cost overruns, delays, not having enough capacity. Customer is asking for more and you cannot create fast enough. Think about the capacity right now. The world is asking for vaccinations for COVID-19, and we cannot produce them fast enough. The world's biggest vaccine producer is in India. What is it called? Serum Institute of India. That's the largest vaccine producer in the entire world. And they're still not fast enough because the demand is so much more. If they do Lean, and I'm sure they must be doing Lean, but if they still do more Lean and some Six Sigma, then they can double their capacity very, very easily. In the United States, Pfizer and Moderna are two prominent vaccine manufacturers, and they're not being able to supply vaccination to us fast enough, partly because we had a real idiot as a leader and they botched everything. Hopefully now things will be better, but also production capacity improvement, lean principles they work like a charm to increase capacity. So these kind of issues are everywhere. So why ask this question, what area should we apply lean? Everywhere. Wherever you see something is not as you desire, apply. And in terms of applicability, the second question that often comes is people say, but we are a small industry. Okay. Isn't this something that you always say GE did it, Ford did it, Boeing did it, Toyota did it, but we're not a big company like them. We are a small company. Can we do it? We don't have the kind of investment that's necessary to do it. I always say, think big, but start small. A small company can always begin with just a small 1 day or half a day Kaizen event. Okay, if it's a well-facilitated Kaizen event, then you can spend that time to discover that, oh my God, we have 50 different things that are, and you have to do it with a group of people. You can't do it. A CEO of the company or C-level executives cannot be sitting in their own chamber and thinking this. We have to gather the right people, right mix of people from the company, and a good facilitator, a good master black belt takes them through the techniques and tools used to uncover a whole by 50, 100 problems. At the end of the day, you say, well, we didn't know. There's a small company in Ahmedabad. When I met them, they said, we don't have any problem. We're doing great. We're awesome. And they had tons and tons of rewards. It's very common to visit companies where as soon as you enter the company, there are lots of certificates and rewards. This is something that I see in India a lot. I don't see that in the United States. Rewards and certificates and awards are meaningless. Okay, I have a driver license in my wallet, but that doesn't mean that I'm a good driver. It's just a piece of paper. So companies have that, and then I ask them, are you exporting? Can I go talk to your customers? Then they're silent. Okay. They don't share the names of their customers because they're afraid that if I go to talk to their customers, they'd say, we're never happy with them. So if people refuse to accept that we have problems. So we went through 1 day Kaizen event. You won't believe, at the end of the day, they had identified 150 problems. Before that, they had claimed that we have no problems. We're the best in the world. I keep hearing that. And at the end of the Kaizen event, there are 150 problems, a small IT company in Ahmedabad. And I didn't give them any numbers. Their own finance, the chief of finance, head of finance, I asked him and his finance accounting people to write down the numbers, right? The dollar values on each problem. What is the cost of that problem? And they identified that every year they were losing about 20 crore rupees because of those 150 problems. That was in the ballpark of their revenues. Okay, if this is the hidden factor, this is your second factory. Your annual turnover is 20 crore, but now you found out that we are losing 20 crore because we have these problems that we didn't know and we didn't solve them. So you really have two factories. One is producing 20 crore turnover. The other one is eating it all up. So at the end of the day, you have nothing to show for. Right? So if you're a small company, spend just 1 hour, 1 day or half a day. Sometimes you can be efficient, do half a day, uncover problems, quantify the cost of not solving those problems. And then you can prioritize. Few problems that are easy to solve, but cost a lot of money. Let's prioritize them. Let's pick 1 or 2 top problems and then select the team. And then once you have done that much, then you can pick 1 or 2 projects that will give you 1 to 10 return on investment. And then all you need is find a small amount of seed money. Okay, it might be a couple of lakhs rupees. It might be 5 lakhs rupees, but keep in mind that if you have that seed money, you do yellow belt level training, and within 100 days, if you tell your team, we're putting you through yellow belt class, we're going to give you the project, solve that problem, deliver the value. And if you save 10 lakh rupees, spending 2-3 lakh rupees on your training and project was well worth it. And then then give if you borrowed that seed money from somewhere, give it back to them. But from the gains that you got, you can then do the second project and a third project, and then the momentum picks up, and then the whole initiative starts rolling. Okay, so this is just a very easy and clear way to start in a small way and then grow the effort if you're a small company. So as far as applicability goes, it's applicable everywhere, and it's applicable to small companies as well as large companies. It's applicable in service industry as well as it is in manufacturing industry. Okay. Any question on applicability? Okay, so the roadmap to do it right, I'm going to go a little bit fast now because I want to leave some time for questions and answers. But you need to recognize that there are roles. The question that came up, that senior leaders spend a lot of time doing things that are of no significant value. I have a cousin who worked for Intel for many years, and he once told me that at time of crisis, 75% of the managers are asking for the reports. I want report. They're panicking. Okay, this is completely wasteful. It takes time and energy and resources away from doing the more important work. So if senior leaders are engaged in wrongful activities, this is what they need to learn, that there is a role to play for, and by senior leaders, I mean the top managers of the company, the C-level, the executives, C-level executives, right? They have a role to play, especially if you are rolling this Lean Six Sigma initiative throughout the company. Then if you're doing some projects, there is a middle level management layer where these are the people who are at director level or senior managers who say, I have teams of people working for me. I am leading an area where I'm responsible for driving better and better results. So I need to improve. We got problems in my team. So I have people that I can send for green belt, yellow belt, black belt training. And they're the ones that I want to execute Lean Six Sigma projects. So there are these multiple, and then there are these trainers who train you. Everybody has a role to play. The senior executives, they need to know. We do executive overview and champion training to make sure that before we get to any Lean Six Sigma training for these guys, we prepare the executives and they understand what their role is. And the champions, project champions, they understand what their role is. So you have a better success of going through. So they may not know this on their own, but there has to be a quality council in place. There has to be alignment of vision. They have to set certain expectations from people. They have to review things and approve things. And I'll quickly go through some of the responsibilities that they have. And then the champions have to go, we do the champion workshop, and they have to really set the goals, select the projects, select the green belts or black belts who are going to go through training, and set the expectations for the project, and then review them, guide them, and approve the project and determine the results. And then these people will go through certain amount of training. This can change, the 4 days, 1 week, all that can change depending upon what level training you're getting. If you start with yellow belt level training, then it's much shorter than the training, 4 days, or I keep losing my pointer. These times can change. And then throughout the training, you need master black belts to assist you in the program, train the people, coach them when they're doing the project, give them project guidance. Without the project guidance, they feel that everything I learned in the class was clear, but now when I do the project, I'm lost. Okay, they need coach and mentor to take them through. That kind of support is essential. So the different levels of certificate, at lowest level, you have the yellow belts that learn the methodology and they can execute very small projects. The green belts are also people who are not full-time Lean Six Sigma people, but they can execute certain projects that are more involved than yellow belt level. They're not very simple projects, but they have other jobs to do. Black belts and master black belts over here, they are full-time dedicated resources, and they do projects that solve $1 million problems. black belts are great at training and coaching green belts in training. And master black belts can actually train, they can synthesize new material, they can evaluate performance. So master black belts are the ultimate gurus of the whole methodology. So you may want to start by training some of your people at yellow belt level and then grow the initiative. When you do that, 3 roles, and I mentioned briefly this before, the senior sponsor's role is very important in reinforcing the priorities. This is what I need you to do. Here's my commitment, and constantly encourage the team and evaluate their results. The coach plays an extremely important role of making sure that the people are guided properly throughout the project and the projects close. Unless the projects close, the results are not delivered. And then the project leader and the project team are the ones who are executing the whole thing. They need to know to ask for help and not struggle on their own. In order to save costs, many companies often eliminate the coaching part. They say, oh, these outside consultants here, right? We don't want coaching. Why? Because it's going to cost money. Well, okay, save money. And then these people are going to fall flat on their faces and no results will come out and you get nothing. You didn't save a couple of lakhs rupees, you lost 10 lakhs rupees opportunity. A lot of the time sponsors, I told these people to go and do it. Now I'm very busy. I've got other things to do. You do that and these people will be struggling in oblivion. So these 3 roles have to be continuously present and know what their roles are, their responsibilities are. If you are that sponsor, at each stage, you have certain responsibilities. Okay? In defined stage, how do I do certain things to keep my team set on the right track? If you are in the measure stage, how do I make sure that my team is identified the correct data and the data is accurate? If you are in analyze stage, again, you are engaged and you say, how do I make sure that they really get to the root cause and not the surface causes? Once the project moves in improve stage, how do I make sure that the solutions that they're thinking of really address the root causes? When you get into the control stage, how do I make sure that the things don't, I encourage the teams to put proper control mechanisms in place so things don't go back to the way they were. So in each stage, sponsors, senior management, leaders, they have to remain engaged, okay? The key to success is the leaders have to have commitment throughout the phase, right? They need to demonstrate commitment. They have to know that it's my responsibility to make sure that this happens. I need to give time and support for my team. If they don't get that, they're not going to be successful. It's my responsibility to give them support. I'm accountable for the outcome. I need to be the model for this. I need to reward behavior. These are keys to success. And some of the pitfalls, okay, we're probably running out of time, but I want to tell you that there are certain things that will kill the whole thing. You say, well, we did the training, and we're great. We know Lean Six Sigma now. And we have hired somebody who says on his curriculum vitae, that CV says he's a Lean Six Sigma black belt. So we have hired and we're done. No, if you have that culture of chalega or use jugaad to solve problems, I passionately hate these words. And thankfully, we just got the first prime minister who boldly said, chalega culture, we have to do away with chalega culture. I was so happy. I'm not a big fan of your prime minister, but I love some of the things that he does. And I was so happy when he said at that level, everybody listen, he's so popular, everybody listens to him. And he said, we must do away with the chalega culture. And the second thing I see is people are very proud of jugaad. We do jugaad. So we solve. If you are proud of jugaad, I don't want to talk to you, okay? You need to understand jugaad is no way to solve problems in corporations, okay? Having that culture of cost cutting and thinking of cost, having a narrow view of something is going to cost a lot and not thinking of investment. If we need some gain, we need to invest and we need to focus on return on investment. If you don't think like that, you're not going to be successful. If the senior leadership is not committed, if you keep on thinking that, oh, this is something like ISO or SQC, the next time somebody says we have ISO 9000 or statistical process control, so we don't need Lean Six Sigma, do me a favor, just take your gun out and shoot the guy. I'm just kidding, okay? Don't. I'm not preaching violence, okay? I'm not like Donald Trump, so I'm not inciting violence. I just tell you, these things, thinking of other things that you're already doing, so we don't need an improvement philosophy. That's a wrong way of thinking. So this type of thinking, not doing enough training or coaching, not getting the external help, hiring the wrong consultants. This is a misstep that a lot of people do. Oh, some consultant says they'll do it for really cheap. Well, you pay people peanuts and all you get is monkeys, and you will not get the results. So if you are really serious about this, you will have to pay somebody, but think of it as investment, and don't have a narrow focus of cost saving, because that will not get you anywhere. Think of investment and return on investment. My boss, Elaine Kovansky, who is the president of our company, and my colleague, Norm Freiberg, they wrote an excellent book called How Not to Implement Six Sigma. It's a very funny book to read. If you can get your hands on that book. They're using reverse psychology. Everybody talks about how to implement. They say, well, you want to fail? Let me teach you how to fail. Which book ever teaches you how to fail? But they're by playing reverse psychology, they have written some excellent ways of making sure that you are successful in your Lean Six Sigma implementation. Now, I want to stop here. Okay, with the final thought that this is so powerful. This is going to be our reply to China. If we embrace the culture of continuous improvement, we will bypass China and we'll be much better. Right now, the whole world looks at China as the world factory. They are not considering buying too much. Once you leave India, our fellow classmate in Prague will probably tell us, once you leave India and travel abroad, not many people are talking about buying things from India. Okay? Everybody wants to buy things from China. We can change that, but we need to embrace the culture of continuous improvement. If we do that, we're there. Okay, I'll stop here for last few minutes of questions, comments, discussion. You're always welcome to reach out to me. That's my email address, my first name dot last name @mycompanyname.com, or you can get my contact information from Mr. Dinesh Panchal. All right. I'll stop talking. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Pravir. We request all the participants, if you have any questions, you can unmute the microphone from your side and you can ask, or else you can type in a chat box and I'll read out on your behalf. Thank you very much.
Dr. Pandya, Parthish here again.
Yes, Parthish.
If you see in the last 10 years, the maximum number of Deming Awards applications go from India. So that way a lot of culture is coming. But still, if you feel that China is better on the quality, what are the reasons why China is better?
Maybe at least in part, and that might be my opinion, but in part, your answer was your first sentence. A lot of application for award are going out. Don't be fixated on awards. Awards mean nothing. You get an award, you frame it and put it in your waiting room or reception area. Then what? Is the culture really are people practicing that? Just practice it, learn it and practice, put it, implement it and make it sustainable. The Chinese are doing that. The Chinese economy grew big time. One fundamental difference is China is still not a totally free democracy like India is, right? India has that big advantage that we are free, but with freedom, there's a cost of freedom. With freedom, discipline goes out the window. China had that discipline that they put all the state money is put back into growing their economy more and making them more competitive in the global economy. In our case, the government has allowed individual industrialists to get richer and richer. It's like the United States. Fewer and fewer people are getting richer and richer and richer. And the economic gains that we have are not necessarily flowing back into the economy as much as we want. People see a few flyovers and few fast trains and people get so excited. Look, India has changed so much. But look at other places. Okay, everybody has changed. Everybody has infrastructure now, right? The way Indian economy has grown in the last 25, 30 years is so phenomenally good that where is all that money? That money cannot be in Ambani living in $1 billion house. It has to flow back into the true development, not awards, not Deming Awards, not ISO 9000 certificates, not Six Sigma, green belt, black belt certificate. Do away with the certificate mindset. Do actual improvement. Actions are louder than anything else. Okay, you have to see that culture in action. I visit a lot of companies. I'm sorry to say, I don't, coming from United States, I don't see that culture. And the heads of companies are recognizing that. So many people in India are telling me, we want American style work culture. It is becoming more and more clearer that the culture shift needs to happen. The factory owners, business owners, company owners, industry owners are figuring it out very, very clearly because they travel. They know what's happening in the global economy. They are aware of it. It's difficult to bring that culture. I don't know if that answers your question, Parthesh, but that's one man's opinion.
Yes, partially, but I'll connect with you again.
Okay. Yeah, when we have time, I'd love to have you share your thoughts on it. What do you feel about it? Anybody else? Question on Lean Six Sigma? Gives me a chance to have a drink of water.
Yeah, friends, if you have any questions, comments, any suggestions, feel free to raise here.
Either everything I said was very clear and there are no questions, or everything I said was so boring that people have gone to sleep. One or the other.
I would like to make one comment.
Yes, please.
Add to what you've been saying.
Yes.
You've been talking about. I'm Neeraj Yagnik here.
Oh, okay.
I recognize the voice.
Thank you. I wanted to go a little even more fundamental, deeper than what you've been talking about the culture, the work culture. Let's not call it American or Indian or whatever, but the work. What is meant by work culture? You sometimes even need to get the language right. For instance, one of my friends said that in India, when you ask for a date for delivery, the person says, "Oh, we'll get it in a couple of days." Abroad, when you say couple of days, it means 2 days. In India, it is stretched to when you say couple of days, it means actually, okay, I'll give you the date after a couple of days.
Yes.
So this is when you are talking of statistics, control, you're talking of numbers. When you are so loose in your normal talk,
sure,
then this is the level of culture change that is required.
Yes.
And that is where we fall flat.
Absolutely.
In the end, unless and until we cross this particular step, then we will not be able to make any further gain. That is my personal opinion.
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought it up. I want to clarify one thing. This is not about doing away. First of all, it's not the social culture. We are talking about work culture, right? Corporate culture. And secondly, it's not about doing away with the Indian culture, because Indian culture is very old and very strong and very deep rooted, very powerful. And other countries are in fact learning from Gita and all sorts of things that ancient India teaches, right? It's not just us, but others want to learn from Indian culture. So do understand that the Americans are rapidly learning Indian culture. So Indian culture is phenomenally good. Don't feel that we are putting Indian culture down. The thing is, it's a question of reorienting that culture in a different, setting your GPS to the right direction. The market winds keep on shifting all the time. So if the markets have changed from the regional markets or domestic market, if now your eyesight is on exporting to Canada, Australia, United States, European countries, then you just need to set the compass in the new direction so you catch the market winds appropriately. So GE calls it culture compass. That initiative is culture compass. It's just changing the culture direction and setting it to the new direction and learning from other cultures to make the best of of all worlds. It's not about saying that, oh, Indian culture is bad or somebody else's culture. No, Indian culture is so good that everybody's learning from it. So why are we not learning from other people's cultures? Because in global economy, we need to learn from each other. Fair enough? if you think of some questions to ask, or if you want to discuss more, like I said, that's my email address. You're always welcome to reach out to me. And
I
I
have
want to
one
thank you for
question.
joining me today. I really enjoyed
Praveen,
talking to you. It's much better if we can all see each other's faces and not like I'm talking to a screen. But hopefully the pandemic will be gone and we'll be again in the lecture halls or auditorium in front of each other.
Praveen, I have
Thanks
a
for coming.
question. I have a question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
My question is, in today's, such rapidly growing changes that are happening, the disruption that's happening, by the time you start a Lean Six Sigma implementation or continuous improvement implementation with several assumptions, you find everything has changed. We saw what happened just a year back after this COVID thing, So, in such a situation, how can your organization, how can organizations also be agile enough to be able to adapt to the environment and maybe even drive these changes that are happening?
Yes. So like Parthish, you also partly answered your own question. Agile is the key word. Agile is not lean, like Lean Six Sigma. Agile is quickly gaining popularity in the IT industry. Agile as a framework was always there. I mean, for 20 years they have been doing agile software development. But now non-IT industry, one of our biggest clients, British Petroleum, is very rapidly deploying agile because all the big oil companies, ExxonMobil, Chevron, they're all embracing agile. Keep in mind, agile is not a substitute for Lean Six Sigma. Agile is a framework, okay? Just like ISO and other, it's a framework which gives you the structure of how to do things very quickly, okay? Within that framework, Lean Six Sigma is a methodology or philosophy or way of thinking. So the combination is really very good. So in British Petroleum, what we are doing is there's the agility initiative going on in a big way. IBM is doing a lot of agile implementation, and Gelrad is bringing the lean part of it. So lean and agile are both being combined together by IBM and Gelrad. And that's how this big oil company is doing agility. And this is where slightly Lean and Six Sigma are beginning to make a departure, that people are saying that we need to do things quickly. Don't get us bogged down in collecting data and analyzing data and people are afraid of mathematics. And people feel that Lean Six Sigma methodology slows them down. And Lean is all about doing things faster and fast. There's an excellent book called Lean Startup. Eric Ries wrote that book, right? So startups have to be very quick. To your point, when things change so rapidly, can you afford to do in MBA programs, they used to teach, first go to the library, check out all the books on how to write a business plan, and write a business plan, and then go to a bank or your investors, pitch the business plan, and if they like it, then they'll give you money and your debt or equity, and then you start and for the business plan, you'll have to do market study, and you have to come up with the financial analysis. And Lean Startup says, forget all that, right? Just develop a product that's this small product that's sellable, take it to the market, listen to the customers, listen to their voice, and improve the product as they give you feedback, and deliver the product in successions, in multiple generations. And that's how you do things. Because today's economy, today's markets don't allow you too much time to sit in your factory and develop a solution and go when it is perfectly good. Okay? You have to keep on putting, but sacrifice perfection in the interest of speed. My boss used to say at one point in British Petroleum, a good enough result today is much better than a perfect result tomorrow. Okay. Don't make me wait till tomorrow. Give me things today, right away, right? Don't worry that's perfect. Give it to me now. Give it to me now. See, agile is instead of taking a whole year to develop a product, every 3 weeks put something out that can sell. Then next 3 weeks, it's not perfect, but put it out in the market. Put it out in the market.
Okay. Thank you. Parthish, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pandya. On behalf
Call
of
me
CII
Praveen.
and Dr.
I have no PhD. I'm not a doctor of any kind. And I love my first name. So please call me Praveen.
Yeah, Mr. Pavi, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and it was very valuable. On behalf of CII and Navrachana University, I thank you. Thank you so much.